What if I told you that all these years you may have been praying the wrong way? Would you believe it? We often think that prayer is about asking for something: health, money, happiness. But there is a truth that very few people know. Prayer is not just a habit, not just a repeated ritual. It can bend the course of your destiny. Ibn Arabi, the great Sufi sage, once revealed a secret. The deepest prayer does not lie in words, but in the transformation of the soul itself. And once you truly understand this, you will never pray the same way again. Stay until the end of this video, because I will share that secret with you, a secret that could forever change the way you pray. When it comes to prayer, most of us think about asking for something. Some ask for health, some ask for wealth, some ask for a stable job, for a peaceful family, or for their children to be safe. To many people, prayer feels like submitting a petition to the sky, hoping that some higher power will hear and grant what they need. But Ibn Arabi, the great Sufi sage, saw it differently. He said that prayer is not simply a request. It is a journey, a two-way journey going deep into the soul, while at the same time opening a path toward the eternal center, the place where the human soul meets God. Picture this. A mother sits alone in the middle of the night. Her child is gravely ill. She kneels down, bows her head, and prays through tears. At that moment, her words are no longer complete. She does not recite a full prayer, nor does she use elegant phrases. Instead, every sob, every tear, every trembling breath becomes the prayer itself. And in that exact moment, the raw truth breaking out of her heart turns the prayer into something sacred. Ibn Arabi called this the cry of the soul, because prayer is not about choosing the right words. It is about letting the heart speak, letting the soul connect. When you pray in that way, you are not only reaching upward, you are also returning inward. There is a saying of his that is worth pondering. When you think you are calling him, it is actually he who is calling you. That saying makes us pause and reflect. Could it be that prayer does not begin with us, but begins with God? That it is he who plants in our hearts a longing, a call, so that we may return to him. And when we kneel and utter our prayer, we are in fact responding to that call. So prayer is not just a request. It is like an appointment, a profound meeting between the human soul and the Eternal One. At that meeting, we do not only bring our wishes, we bring our whole selves with all our weaknesses, desires, fears, and hopes. Perhaps you have experienced such a moment at some point in life, when the pain was too much to bear, when there was no one else to share it with. You prayed. In that moment, you were not thinking about words. You only felt your heart wanting to cry out, wanting to hold on to something beyond your own strength. In that very instant, you touched the true essence of prayer. Prayer does not only change circumstances, it changes you. It makes you more honest, more humble, and also stronger. When you stand before the Eternal One, you accept your own smallness, and at the same time, you realize that within that smallness lies a thread connecting you to an infinite source of strength. That is why Ibn Arabi saw prayer not as a one-way act, but as a relationship. It is not only that we turn toward God, it is also that God silently turns toward us. In every prayer there is a meeting, a touching, a returning. So if you have thought that prayer was only about repeating verses or reading out a list of wishes, try shifting your perspective. See prayer as a journey to find yourself again, a bridge that carries you from the chaos of life to the depth of peace, a bridge between your heart and the Eternal One. When that happens, every prayer you utter will no longer be just a request, but a response to a call that has been echoing in your soul for a very long time. Many people believe that destiny is a script already written, that we are only actors in this play, unable to change a single line, unable to step off the path set for us. But Ibn Arabi said that destiny is not an unchanging play. It is like an empty frame, and our lives are painted upon it through our prayers. He compared destiny to a river. That river will certainly reach the sea, but the journey it takes is always changing. When it meets a large rock, the water does not stop, nor does it turn back. It finds another way. It flows around, it seeps into the ground, and it rises again elsewhere. Prayer is the force that helps the river of destiny find new directions. There was a man who lost his job. He felt hopeless, believing that every door had closed. In his despair, he prayed. Day after day, he whispered to God, not with long speeches, but with the voice of his heart. Please open a way for me. After several weeks, a sudden phone call came. An old friend remembered him and offered him a new job. The man believed that prayer had changed his life. But Ibn Arabi would say that it was not prayer that changed destiny, but that destiny itself had already written that he would pray in despair, and then a new door would open. In other words, even the prayer in your heart is already part of destiny. It may sound like a paradox, but think about it. Perhaps the real point is not whether we can bend destiny, but whether we can align ourselves with it. When you pray, you step into the flow of destiny. You no longer resist. You let the river carry you. In that surrender, new paths begin to appear. Destiny, according to Ibn Arabi, is not a locked door. It is like a garden with many pathways. Prayer is not about creating a new door, but about recognizing the path that is right for you. So when you kneel down to pray, do not think that you are doing something small. Every prayer is a part of destiny, an echo that helps the river of life open a new bend. Sometimes what you receive is not what you asked for, but the path that you truly need. Therefore, prayer and destiny are not opposites. They are two sides of the same truth. Destiny gives birth to prayer, and prayer illuminates destiny. They are like water, and its flow inseparable, impossible to say which comes first. Always remember, whenever a prayer rises in your heart, it is not by chance. It is destiny planting that seed within you so that you may call out and the path may open. We usually think that prayer is meant to change something outside of us, better health, a smoother career, safety for our loved ones. But Ibn Arabi showed us another truth. Often, prayer does not change the world around you. It changes you first. Imagine dropping a pebble into a pond. The ripples spread outward, but the very first circle begins right at the center where the pebble touched the water. Prayer is the same. Every prayer is like a pebble dropped into your heart. The first ripple is not outside but within the soul. There was once a man who shared that he had fallen into despair. Everything felt dark. He prayed every day, asking God for a light. At first he thought that light would be a miracle, a new job, someone to help him, or a sudden change in his life. Then he realized that the first thing that changed was his own heart. He felt calmer, steadier, carrying a quiet trust within him. From that inner change, he gradually found his way forward again. This is not superstition. Modern psychology has shown that prayer or meditation can reduce stress, clear the mind, and strengthen the will. When you pray, you are not only sending out a request, you are also reminding your mind of what truly matters. Each prayer is like a seed planted in the subconscious, and over time it sprouts into new strength. Ibn Arabi said, "When you ask for something, sometimes God does not change your circumstances but changes your heart. And when your heart changes, the whole world changes with it." Think about that. If you ask for peace, the first gift may not be a life with fewer storms, but a soul that knows how to stand firm within the storm. If you ask for strength, God may not remove all your challenges, but He may plant within you an inner power to overcome them. When you are transformed from within, you will be surprised to see that the outside world also seems to change. Not because it is different, but because the way you see it has changed. It is like wearing glasses. When you put on clearer lenses, everything suddenly becomes brighter. So if you have prayed and thought, nothing happened, try looking back at yourself. Perhaps the first thing that changed was you. That transformation is the deepest miracle of all. Almost all of us have felt this. We prayed, we poured out our hearts, but then nothing seemed to happen. We waited for a sign, a miracle, But time passed and the silence continued. Ibn Arabi said that every prayer is answered, but the answers come in many forms. Sometimes it is yes, sometimes it is not yet. Sometimes the answer is not what you asked for, but something far better. Think of planting a seed in the ground. You will not see it the next day. It needs time to absorb water, to send roots deep to push a sprout upward. If you grow impatient and dig it up to check, you ruin the process. But if you wait, if you water it, if you are patient, one day the green shoot will rise. Prayer is the same. It needs time to grow and to become real in the most fitting moment. There was a woman who prayed for many years for a child. Day after day she begged God to grant her the gift of motherhood. No answer came. The pain made her want to give up many times. Yet through that long journey of prayer, she discovered something: she had grown closer to God than ever before. Every tear, every word of prayer made her feel His presence beside her, sharing her burden. Then she realized that the greatest gift she had received was not a child, but the sacred love she found in her closeness with God. Ibn Arabi emphasized that human time is not God's time. We live within days, months, and years, but God sees everything from eternity. Some things He gives us immediately because they are necessary. Some things He makes us wait for because it is in that waiting that our souls are refined, expanded, and prepared to receive something greater. Do you see, a delay is not a rejection. It is part of the plan. It is like a father who does not hand a sharp knife to a small child, not because he does not love the child, but because the child is not yet ready to hold it safely. God is the same. He gives to us at the right time when we are mature enough to receive it. So if you are still waiting today, do not think that your prayer has fallen into an endless void. The answer may have already begun its journey. It is just taking a longer road than you expected. Sometimes, within that delay, we discover the most precious gifts of all: patience, trust, and an unshakable faith. When people think of prayer, many imagine a solemn setting, a grand temple, a perfect scripture, polished words and flawless rituals. But Ibn Arabi reminds us of something important. Prayer does not need beautiful forms. What God listens to is not the words themselves, but the sincerity of the heart. You can come to Him in any state, sometimes with overflowing joy, sometimes with anger, sometimes with pain, disappointment, or even silence. A single tear can be stronger than 100 eloquent sentences. A sigh from the depths of the soul can touch more deeply than a long chant. In that rawness and fragility, a human being becomes the most real before God. Picture a man who has just lost a loved one. He kneels down, but he no longer has the strength to utter a complete prayer. He remains silent, tears streaming down his face. In that silence, he prays not with his mouth, but with his broken heart. And God, as Ibn Arabi says, still hears everything. Ibn Arabi tells us, come to Him exactly as you are. Do not try to hide your weakness. Do not cover yourself with the false robe of fancy words. When you come to God with your truth, whether it is joy, sorrow, or even anger, only then does your prayer reach the very source. In daily life, we often have to hide our emotions, smiling when we are tired, acting strong when we feel weak. But in prayer, you no longer have to hide. It is the one place where you can take everything off and return to your truest self. In that honesty, prayer becomes more powerful than anything else. It is no longer about words, but about offering your whole being. At that moment, prayer is no longer just an act. It becomes a communion between your soul and the Eternal One. Now we arrive at the deepest part of Ibn Arabi's thought. For centuries, people have prayed with the hope of changing the world, that sickness might disappear, hardships might be lifted, or wishes might come true. But Ibn Arabi says that the power of prayer is not in changing the outside world, but in changing you. Pause for a moment to feel this. If you ask for strength, God may not immediately make your body stronger. Instead, He plants in your heart an unshakable will. If you ask for peace, He may not calm every storm outside. Instead, He gives you an inner peace that stands firm, even in the middle of the storm. Ibn Arabi once said something that sounds strange. The one who prays is the prayer itself. This means that you are not simply speaking a desire. You must become the very embodiment of that desire. If you ask for light, let yourself become the light. If you ask for love, let your heart itself become a source of love. There was once a man who prayed for God to grant him the strength to overcome adversity. He prayed every day, hoping for a miracle that would change his situation. What he discovered was not that his difficulties disappeared, but that he himself had changed. His heart was no longer filled with fear. He dared to rise, to face, and to walk forward. In that moment, he realized that the answer he sought was the transformation within himself. Ibn Arabi's message is truly profound. Prayer is not about receiving more. It is about becoming someone new. When you change, the world around you naturally reflects that change. It is like a mirror. When you smile, the mirror returns a smile. When you frown, the mirror reflects tension. The world is the mirror, and you are the image within it. Prayer is the moment you adjust that image. When the image changes, the mirror changes too. Ibn Arabi leaves us with a reminder. If you still have the strength to pray, then the answer has already begun to come. The very longing to pray in your heart is already a sign that transformation is happening not far away, but right inside you. In the end, we see that prayer is not simply asking for something. It is a journey back to yourself. It is an inner transformation that leads you to union with God. You may begin with a prayer, but slowly that prayer changes your heart. When you change, the world changes with you. So let me ask you, have you ever had a prayer so deep that it transformed who you are? A prayer that not only brought you what you hoped for, but turned you into someone different. I would love to hear your story. Share it in the comments, because your experience might be the light someone else needs in a dark moment. If this video has touched your heart, do not forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together, where we will keep exploring the mysteries of the spirit of life and of ourselves. And remember, the echo of a prayer never disappears. It travels far beyond time, bending destiny, and it may even reach generations yet to come.